So who actually controls the narrative in today's media landscape? And, well, what happens when that control is openly challenged? Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving straight into a fascinating, frankly viral clash between Elon Musk and a reporter from The Economist. But look, we aren't just watching a clip here. We're going to use the analytical perspective of the hosts at Valuetainment to really understand the complex modern media dynamics at play. It's basically a masterclass in how narratives are built, challenged, and ultimately controlled in our digital age.
To map this all out, we've broken things down into 5 key areas. We've got the Musk media clash, defining normal versus extreme, the media as lobbyist critique, the dual recording PR strategy, and finally, the shifting political center.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the Musk media clash, a viral interview breakdown. We're going to look at the specific clip that ignited this entire commentary.
The Valuetainment hosts highlight this incredibly tense moment in the interview. The reporter directly questions Musk's political and social leanings, and she's really attempting to pin down his exact ideology, asking him point-blank if he's anti-Muslim or aligns with the far right. As the hosts point out, this wasn't just a casual, off-the-cuff question. According to their analysis, it was a deliberate attempt by traditional media to slap a controversial label onto a highly influential public figure.
But interestingly, Musk totally rejects the premise of the question. He pushes back hard, stating that he simply supports, quote, normal people. He clarifies that his stance isn't rooted in phobias or extreme ideologies at all. Rather, he says he's just against violent crime, things like rape and murder, and the imposition of laws that run contrary to accepted Western values. This immediate rejection really sets up a core friction point in the video: what actually constitutes mainstream versus fringe thought. Which brings us to Section 2, defining normal versus extreme. Where is the line? Let's explore exactly how the source material contrasts normal and extreme political views today.
The source video focuses heavily on the reporter's specific choice of words. By using phrases like far right and very fringe parties, the reporter is actively framing Musk's viewpoints as dangerous or radical. The Valuetainment hosts analyze this moment really carefully. They note how the media uses this exact type of language to try and alienate Musk's views from mainstream public consciousness.
In sharp contrast to that framing, Musk counters with 3 very specific principles: secure borders, safe cities, and sensible spending. According to Musk, and this is echoed strongly by the Valuetainment hosts, these are just common-sense positions. Musk firmly rejects the far-right characterization as absurd, false, and totally misleading. He basically challenges the reporter to explain how wanting safe cities or fiscal responsibility could possibly be categorized as a fringe, extremist viewpoint.
Moving on to Section 3, the media as lobbyist critique, Valuetainment's analysis. Here, we're looking at how the hosts interpret the broader motivations of legacy media during interviews exactly like this one. This brings us to a really core argument of the source material. The hosts repeatedly describe The Economist not as objective journalists, but as lobbyists of the left. Now, traditionally, a lobbyist is someone paid to influence legislation, right? But here, Valuetainment redefines the term. They use it to describe a media entity that is actively pushing a specific political ideology rather than just reporting impartial facts. They're essentially arguing that the publication has a baked-in agenda.
Building on that idea, the hosts argue that legacy media organizations like The Economist have completely lost their impartiality. Instead of acting as objective analysts, maybe drawing supply and demand curves like you'd expect from an economics publication, they instead rely heavily on pushing narratives of victimhood. The hosts suggest the media acts almost as a protest vote, weaponizing their platforms against figures who threaten their specific worldview or political leanings. To support this critique, the hosts point to the media's alleged silence on some pretty major stories. They bring up figures like Anthony Fauci and Rupert Lau. The hosts claim that the press actually attacks those who expose inconvenient truths, like Lau highlighting governmental failures, because it shines a bright light on the media's own silence. According to this analysis, the media gets embarrassed that they didn't cover these stories when the public really needed to know, and so their resulting rage gets directed at the people exposing that failure.
Okay, let's jump to Section 4, the dual recording PR strategy, billionaire media tactics. This is where we look at a very specific media strategy the hosts extract from this viral moment.
They outline a really fascinating dual recording public relations tactic, framing it as a totally necessary safeguard for public figures dealing with potentially hostile publications. It goes like this. Step 1. Agree to the interview.
Step 2, explicitly inform the publication that you will also be recording the session. And Step 3, use your raw tape as a check and balance. The hosts explain that doing this prevents the media from clipping sentences, interrupting answers, or deceptively editing the footage to create a false impression of what was actually said. Valuetainment heavily praises Musk and his team for executing this exact tactic. By ensuring the full cloth, meaning the completely unedited, raw video is released, they entirely bypass the traditional media's ability to frame the narrative. According to the hosts, this is a perfect illustration of a modern power shift. For anyone consuming news today, it's a huge reminder of how raw, unedited footage is becoming the primary tool for public figures to sidestep traditional media framing and just let the public see exactly what happened, unfiltered.
Which leads us to our final section. Section 5. The shifting political center. Redefining the mainstream. Let's examine the valuetainment hosts' overarching theory on why these intense labeling conflicts are happening in the first place.
The hosts argue that the political center of gravity has shifted dramatically to the left. In the clip, Musk points out that if you took policies considered completely normal just 10 or 15 years ago, literally policies you could easily find in speeches by Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton, and presented them today, they're instantly classified by modern media as far-right extremist or the lunatic right. The argument here is that everyday people haven't necessarily changed their views, but rather, the media's definition of the political center has moved aggressively away from them.
Take a look at this quote from the commentary. It really highlights the host's profound frustration regarding this perceived ideological shift. They ask, at what point did we come to a society, coming from the left, that common sense became far-right extremists? It underscores this deep disconnect between what everyday people might consider basic, rational governance, like safe cities and secure borders, and how those exact same concepts are currently characterized as radical by legacy institutions.
The source concludes by asserting that this aggressively shifting center is actually driving incredibly powerful, influential figures completely away from the political left. The hosts list Elon Musk, Joe Rogan, and Jeff Bezos as prime examples. According to their analysis, these individuals are just simply tired of the nonsense. They're tired of being branded as radicals or extremists for holding what they firmly believe are just normal common sense views.
So the crucial takeaway here is that this isn't just about one tense interview. It's about a massive, structural shift in information power. As the media landscape fractures, and as public figures use their own platforms to completely bypass legacy gatekeepers, we have to ask, who actually gets to define where the political center truly lies? Is it traditional media, or is it the public figures who are now broadcasting directly to millions of people? It's something to think about. Thanks for joining this explainer, and as always, keep questioning the narratives you see.